No, no buzz. Just Bees Book Club. Quick one today. I like a month ago, maybe more at this point, finished The Elusive Shift: How Role-Playing Games Forged Their Identity by John Peterson. I've had issues with some technology and some brain stuff that have led me to not be able to record, and that's fine. Um, Here, long and short of it, turn this off. Obviously, you shouldn't have this on in the first place. This is no buzz. This is a Just Bees book club. If you're not a bee, you're not allowed here. If you are a bee, then you are because you're watching this, and you are therefore a bee. But um, even if you're a bee, just turn this off. Go, excuse me. Go look up Game Study Buddies. It's a podcast co-hosted by Michael Lutz and Cameron Kunzelman. They have an episode on the Elusive Shift. Uh, it's uh, it's long and it's thorough and it's very interesting, and you should listen to that instead of watching this. If you are still watching this, the Elusive Shift is a sort of approachable academic history of role playing games, specifically the term role playing games. It covers basically from like 1945 or 40, whoa, no, 1974, I think, to 1981 ish. Um, and it specifically is a follow up to Peterson's other works that I have not read, sort of deep diving into the history of Dungeons and Dragons. This one was much more interesting to me than his books on D&D itself, or Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, the creators of Dungeons and Dragons, because it's specifically about the fact that Dungeons and Dragons did not call itself a role playing game when it was created. The original Dungeons and Dragons books had no mention of the word role play in them whatsoever. And so Peterson goes and deep dives into a truly impressive seeming archive of zines from the time, primarily published either in the wargaming communities or in the science fiction communities, because they're the two big sort of early adopters of Dungeons and Dragons, and sort of susses out how what we think of as a role playing game today, and by what we think of, I mostly mean Dungeons and Dragons, was formatively shaped by this series of arguments within fandom, or within two specific fandoms, the science fiction and the wargaming fandoms, throughout zines and self-published adventure modules and or role-playing game systems, uh, that sort of created the idea of D&D as a role-playing game prior to the release of advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is sort of the blueprint for what we generally think of as D&D at this point. There's a ton of really cool stuff in the Elusive Shift. It's like a if you give a shit at all about role playing, it's just uh, absolutely a fascinating book. It's deeply not a theoretical text in any way. It's very much a here are the archives. Here is me showing you what has been what was being talked about at the point. There are gestures to the facts that a lot of these arguments end up getting retread repeatedly over the subsequent half century, almost to this point, since the publishing of Dungeons and Dragons. Um, but like that's as close as it gets to anything like any sort of firm theoretical point. Even though there's a literal chapter in here called what is it? It's like the philosophy of roleplay. Yeah, sorry, not a chapter, a whole section in here called Toward a Philosophy. This is not a Peterson proposing a philosophy of roleplay. It's him sort of running through the various ways in which a philosophy was being built up in these zines. Just overall, a really genuinely like fruitful and important text. I think it's informed a lot of my other role playing game theory reading, which look forward to On the Matter of Systems for a more thorough talk about that at some point in the future from me and a dear friend. Um, yeah, I just wholeheartedly recommend it if it's something that seems at all interesting to you. I wholeheartedly recommend Game Study Buddies if it's a thing You maybe don't want to just drop $30 on a random book because you're like, I kind of care about role playing, but they have a very accessible and fun and informative discussion about it. Um, yeah, I think that's all the useful things I can say about this book. And hey, I I, I did it in just 5 minutes. In just 5 minutes, I have like four of these to record. I have a backlog of one, two, three, four. I think it's just those four. Yeah, I have a backlog of four, and this is one of them. Uh, we'll see how many I do. Thanks for not watching. Fuck. I try to usually sneakily put my mouse in the stop recording area before I say the thanks for not watching thing, so I can just like sort of like end it very abruptly.